What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday, November 8th, and this is Casual Wrestling Daily, the daily pro wrestling news live show on YouTube, where we discuss everything that is going on in the world of WWE and AEW. If you enjoy the content and you are feeling a little bit oozy, you are welcome to go ahead and click on the link in the description of this video to donate a couple of dollars. If not, that's okay. Sit back and enjoy the next 15 minutes to 30 minutes of pro wrestling talk. As always, if you don't know, now you know. I am the Notorious Nerdy D, aka the voice of the casual wrestling cult and host of the Casual Wrestling Community channel. I apologize right now. I am under the weather, so I might be coughing and nasally, but I'm going to push through it. We got a little bit to talk about. There was a lot that happened yesterday on Monday Night Raw, but a little housekeeping before we get to that. It is season 1 of the Casual Wrestling Channel content. That means that every Wednesday you can check out at 5 p.m. WWE in Review, where I go back and review old premium live events and pay-per-view matches. And you can check out the Casual Wrestling Podcast every Friday with Level Up Lauren and myself at 5 p.m. Central for your weekend listening enjoyment. Remember, we are on patreon.com/The Casual Wrestling Show. It is 100% free to follow. That is where we will post all the channel updates and community updates. I just posted a new blog yesterday, so you can go check that out. All you gotta do is hit the follow button. It doesn't cost any money to follow. But if you do decide to become a Patreon, then we shout you out like this week's Patreon producers. It's Zenny and LGRSM, part of our fantasy wrestling league there. So shout out to LGRSM for becoming a patron. And let's jump into the top 5 things you need to know about this week or today in professional wrestling. Starting off with last night, Monday Night Raw concluded with Austin Theory attempting to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase after Bobby Lashley beat down Seth Rollins. It is the first time in WWE history that the Money in the Bank briefcase has been used to cash in on a non-major WWE title. Theory's cash-in failed, and it left fans confused on what it means for the superstar going forward. So a question for everybody listening right now is, was this the worst Money in the Bank cash-in of all time? And let me tell you why I don't think it wasn't. Why this matters. I think there's a couple levels that we have to unpack when we're talking about what's happening here on Monday Night Raw with Theory, with Rollins, with the United States title. And it is confusing. And I don't think that the messaging was clear on what Triple H was trying to accomplish with what he did last night. But I will tell you that I think at the end of the day, I think it's clever. First off, I think that what's happening is, I think the United States title, guys, I think that is officially our Monday Night Raw major title. I think Seth tried to portray that in his promo, and he tried to make it clear to everybody that this is the title to go for. That we're not worried about what Roman's doing on the other show. This is the big dog title on Monday Night Raw. Now, whether it remains to be seen, are we going to add another mid-card title to Monday Night Raw? But I do believe that that's what was happening there. And this cash-in attempt by Theory solidifies that idea. It solidifies the idea that Theory saw this belt as a big enough deal that he would go after it with his Money in the Bank briefcase, even if it means fellas, he took his shot and all of that. This is Triple H kind of cleaning up the remnants of the end of like the Vince McMahon era is what's happening, right? He's elevating the U.S. title. He's getting the Money in the Bank briefcase off of Theory because I don't think he had any intention of Theory ever cashing that in and winning a title. And so this is Triple H just kind of taking the last of the Vince McMahon stuff and going, all right, let's figure out how to get some of these things out from under us so that they're not looming as we get around to WrestleMania season, right? If Theory's just going to hold this briefcase, we can't tease it every week if we know that's not where his character is going. Now, what does that mean for guys like Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley? What it looks like to me is Bobby Lashley is going to be built into one of those characters that walks the line of babyface and heel, and that they're going to try to build Bobby Lashley into this behemoth of a monster, so that when he does get the rubber match with Brock Lesnar, that match is going to be huge. So I think for the next foreseeable future, Bobby Lashley's just going to run through people. It's not going to make a lot of sense, but he's just going to probably beat the best of the best. He's going to walk that line between being babyface, because the crowd still cheers Bobby, but I think that he's going to, the post-match attacks and things like that will continue. One thing that came out of this, man, Mustafa Ali gets shit on again. Like, once again, it always feels like Mustafa's right there. Like, he's going to get an opportunity, and then he just gets tossed over those boxes in the back and slams in. Like, Bobby tossed him like he was a child. And I still don't understand why Mustafa Ali gets so close, and then it's like they just, all right, not this time, right? I think, obviously, going forward from here on out, I think in WWE's book, Seth Rollins is the top guy on Monday Night Raw. And like I said, the United States title is the top title on Monday Night Raw. I think that this is what this episode of Monday Night Raw was made to do. It was designed to prove that, number one, Rollins is the guy, and number two, that Money in the Bank and the Vince McMahon era is kind of over. And the United States title is the big deal on Monday Night Raw. Now, the question I have here is, if Triple H is kind of getting rid of all these Vince McMahon things, was Nikki Cross throwing away the 24/7 title? We're all in agreement, right, that was the retirement of that belt, because that's what it felt like to me. Now, I know she missed the trash can, but I'm going to let that go. But like, it felt like that was meant. So that's kind of the end of the little goofy 24/7 thing that was going on. And so I really do believe, last night's Monday Night Raw coming out of Crown Jewel was Triple H's way to go, let's clean all the last Vince McMahon stuff up, and let's just move forward, and let's go on into full-blown Triple H era. The second thing I think you guys need to know about, and this kind of correlates to story number one, is reports from WrestleVotes News. A news source says that John Cena is in the plans for WrestleMania 39. Original thoughts were that with Vince McMahon out of the picture, it may be harder to get Cena involved, but WWE has teased numerous times a match between John Cena and Theory. Question for anybody listening: will we see John Cena versus Theory at WrestleMania 39? My thoughts on this. This, to me, adds all the clarity in the world to last night's confusing Monday Night Raw. Basically, Theory losing the Money in the Bank briefcase is because going forward, we are going to prepare for John Cena and Theory, and the briefcase has no place in that match. Theory doesn't need a briefcase to build to a match with John Cena, nor does he need this idea that he's teasing, Roman Reigns. I think they have clear plans now for where they're going with Roman. We've heard Triple H say this, that they have an idea of kind of where Roman goes and how his story ends, and I don't think it involves Theory. I don't think it involves a briefcase. And so I'm guessing that this is the confirmation that we've been talking about, that Money in the Bank is going to move back to WrestleMania. Which, with Money in the Bank moving back to WrestleMania, it feels like it could have got a little messy if Theory was still holding the briefcase around that WrestleMania time. He starts yelling, I have 1 year from the time I won it, but yet we're trying to give out another Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania. I think they're just, it's just avoiding confusion. But a win against someone like John Cena, because we assume that Theory would eventually go over John Cena, that he would give him the rub. And a win against John Cena, to me, is more important to Theory's career than a cash-in on Roman Reigns or even Seth Rollins. It had, by some stretch of belief, Theory had cashed in on Roman Reigns at some point. We know it wasn't going to be a long title because whoever holds the title coming off of Roman, it's not going to be a long, luxurious run. That title might bounce around a little bit when it comes off of Roman, just due to the fatigue of having one champion for so long. So I think that Theory going against Cena and getting the rub is far more important than any title run he could have had based on his Money in the Bank briefcase. Now, we got to remember, this is going to be Triple H's first WrestleMania. This is his first where he's in control. He calls the shots, and I think he's going to be looking to stick the dagger in a lot of people. Just by proximity, I think he's going to try to show Vince McMahon how this is his moment. I think he's going to try and show Tony Khan and AEW how you guys aren't on our level. I think he's going to pull out all of the stops. I think at WrestleMania, we are going to get The Rock versus Roman. I think we're going to get Cena versus Theory. I think we may get Stone Cold in some form or fashion. And so, he's out here teasing that he could do one more match. So if we get all these big names in Hollywood, I do think Triple H sees this as a moment to kind of stick a dagger in certain people who may not have believed in him or people who are claiming to be competition. So that's I think that it's okay to overreact. I overreacted a little bit last night. I said, what the fuck? What are they doing? Why did Theory cash in on the United States title? Why did he lose? I get we overreacted, but coming back and sitting down and thinking about it, I think going forward, it paints a clearer picture of where we're trying to go inside of WWE in the next 6 months. Now, another little bit of clarity we got is story number 3 is on Monday Night Raw, Bianca Belair challenged Bayley and Damage Control to a match at War Games. Damage Control has seemingly made an alliance with Nikki Cross, giving them 4 members going into the match. It is yet to be seen who the remaining members of each team will be, but WWE did show a graphic on the bottom of the screen that did confirm we are getting a 5-on-5 Survivor Series War Games match. Question to anybody listening, who's going to be the remaining members of Damage Control and Team Bianca? Now, let me tell you what I think and why this matters to me. We've heard various rumors of who was actually going to get these War Games matches, and it bounced around, and I think I originally predicted we would get Team Bianca versus Team Bayley. It made the most sense from the women's perspective. I know we heard Toxic Attraction and Damage Control at one point, but this always made the most sense to me going into War Games. Now, Bayley needs just one more member, and it's kind of open-ended for Damage Control because they can insert any heel character into the match and they'll be perfectly fine. I think that the more interesting team here is going to be Team Bianca, who needs 2 more people. And immediately, for me, all the things we've been talking about this last week, I think that Sasha and Naomi come to mind, and it makes so much sense because I called this way back, is that if Sasha and Naomi return and they get involved in this match, there is a way for them to then transition into a tag team feud against someone like Damage Control. Now, I know that there's other names being thrown out there. I know Candice LeRae, they injured Candice LeRae, so there's always the chance she comes back. There's so many ways, with Triple H bringing back so many people, there is so many ways that this match can go, and it's exciting because this does add just a little bit of intrigue to the next couple of weeks. In a time where Monday Night Raw sometimes feels a little stale and a little predictable, things like this at least add a little bit of unpredictability in the sense that, like, we get to kind of play around with the idea of who's going to be added. And I like that. And I like this for War Games. I think War Games will end up shaping up to be a pretty good pay-per-view. I don't know who the other War Games match will be. Judgment Day. You could have Bloodline. I don't think it's going to be Bloodline. I honestly think it's going to be the OC and the Judgment Day. I think that's who it's going to be. I think it makes sense to put Rhea Ripley in there with Mia Yim and let them mix it up with the men and kind of show their skills in a different way. So that's interesting and exciting. We got the 4th story of the day here is, speaking of Mia Yim returned last night to join the OC and help with the Rhea Ripley problem. Mia Yim was released in late 2021. She is another strong women's acquisition from Triple H. Question, here's a question that I think has to be asked. Is Triple H getting lazy and bringing back too many superstars too fast? I think that's a realistic question. I don't know that I believe it. I don't know that my answer is that that's true, but I think it's a realistic question that I sit around and I go after Tony Khan because I believe next shiny toy, right? Next man up with Tony Khan. And it does feel like in the last couple of weeks, Triple H has struggled a little bit to get people like Kevin Owens and people that we really want to see, get them TV time, and especially on Monday Night Raw. But we keep bringing back new faces, especially in the women's division. And it does seem that we have to, there's a little bit of having to hold him accountable. Now, why this matters, though, is Mia Yim is finally someone for Rhea Ripley to beat up on and feud with, right? Because that's what this is. Mia Yim is not coming back to dethrone or take the position of Rhea Ripley. She solidified herself, as I said, maybe the most interesting person on Monday Night Raw for sure. So this is a little bit of a short-term fix. It gets the OC somebody credible to be a part of possibly a War Games match between the OC and the Judgment Day. But this is all just leading towards, I believe, and I do believe this to be true, I think that WWE was teasing and testing last night Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair for WrestleMania. I am not sold on this idea that WrestleMania is going to be Bianca Belair versus Charlotte and Becky versus Ronda. I'm not sold on that idea. I think that as we get closer, we don't know what Becky's health is. We don't know what Charlotte's doing. So I think there's a tease, and I think that the WWE could be just kind of getting a heat check on how do people feel about Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. And to me, that is honestly the match to make for WrestleMania, if not at least Royal Rumble. But Mia Yim, great acquisition for WWE. Another familiar face brought back that was misused in her time with the company. Mia was at one time one of the most sought after indie wrestlers like in the business. And she will have a big impact on Monday Night Raw. No pun intended with the impact. But like, I think it's another good acquisition. I do think Triple H is stacking up the women pretty quickly, but I think if you're going to build the division, you have to go all in and get all of the pieces that truly matter. Last story of the day is AEW Fight Forever will have a bigger reach than expected as it will be available on Xbox Game Pass when released. This will be All Elite Wrestling's first console game in recent months. Details about the game have been few and far between. The game won the Best Sports Wrestling Game Award at Gamescom, and it was officially announced in August, but its release date and other information remain unclear. Matt Black of WrestleZone reports that the game will be part of Xbox Game Pass once it comes out, which means it will be available for more than 25 million subscribers on the subscription service. Question for anybody listening is, does this scare you that AEW Fight Forever is being distributed on Xbox Game Pass? Let me tell you what I think. I think that the reach for Game Pass is huge. 25 million people. It immediately goes out. Immediately you can download on your Xbox Play. That, to me, that's a great thing. What scares me is I always tend to lean towards in video games, this could be seen as a lack of confidence in the product. And before I did a wrestling show, I did a video game show. So I have a little bit of knowledge of video games and the way they're developed and the way they come to be. And it bothers me because this game has potential. If they thought this was a full-on solid wrestling game, I think they would have just pushed it on their own. I think that they have some questions. Now, I don't know if these questions are about the game as much as if they're just worried this game may be too outdated at this point. With all of the things that have happened, with CM Punk being on the cover, I think that they may be hedging their bets just a little bit, right? I think that they're pulling back and they're going, we may have a problem with our messaging on this game, especially with CM Punk on the cover. So let's put this on Game Pass. Let's get the money we can get. We'll still get some sales on PlayStation and Switch and other places like that. But let's go ahead and get a fan base and get people talking about the game when it comes out so that we can get and I do see Game Pass on my graphic says Game Ass, which is even better. But my guess for this game is one of two things. And it's either that it's underperforming with their test audiences or that it's going to have a lot of DLC. Those are my guesses. Those are usually the two big suspects when a game like this makes the jump to Game Pass. Other than that, maybe they're just worried of it being out of touch. It also bothers me when games have a Switch version, and I love the Switch, but it bothers me because how much did they have to dumb down the design of the game to get it to play on the Switch? Let's talk about, lastly here, what we can expect tonight on NXT. I'm going to pull up WWE.com here and see what they're saying. We have a tag team match, a last chance tag team match between Katana Chance and Caden Carter versus Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons. Looks like we have Cameron Grimes will take down Joe Gacy. Axiom versus JD. And Braun Breaker and Von Wagner will be on the Grayson Waller effect. That doesn't sound like must see TV, but I will probably check it out. A little bit of a short show today, trying to tighten it up, trying to get it in the 15 to 30 minute mark. 5 news stories, tighten them up, just give you the news and let you know my opinion on it. I think that's the way it's going to be from here on out, a tight 15 to 20, if that works for everybody. But other than that, that is all the time we have for Casual Wrestling Daily today. We will pick up where we left off tomorrow. Make sure to tune in every weekday, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. here tonight or here on YouTube Live. Make sure to check out the Casual Wrestling Podcast that posts every Friday for your weekend listening enjoyment. Also, make sure to check out WWE in Review, where I go back and rate old premium live events and pay-per-view matches and rank them on the most notorious casual wrestling match list ever. As always, I am the Notorious Nerdy D, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Step in the ring, if you ready, let's go. Hey, Casual Wrestling Community Show. You already know, talking WWE. Keep it rolling and hosted by Notorious Nerdy D. Dope show that you gon' find. Tune in cause it's online. Hit 'em with a figure 4 leg lock, power driver or clothesline.